the whole vinyl manufacturing process is kind of like a mission impossible race to minimize the imperfections.
25 to 30 seconds, you have one record.
We always check the first record after we start pressing and approximately each 500.
So they've got a very important job here.
Pure as clean as possible.
Actually, do you guys do mastering as well?
We do the mastering, but in the sense of, let's say, preparing the record for vinyl cutting. Just to basically be sure that whatever we get sounds the best on the vinyl.
In order to be the market leader, which you guys are, the biggest manufacturer of vinyl in the world, you must have had the vision to see what was coming. Michael, thanks for having us here at this amazing facility that is gzmedia. Thanks, man. So where are we now?
We are approaching Galvanic electroplating, and what we do produce here is from vinyl master and vinyl stamper. So basically a stamp that will be used for pressing multiple records in the end. So each record has two sides, so two stampers. Each of them needs to be manufactured in one of those baths. It's made of nickel, very precise job. So you can't do anything wrong here, because if you do, you will see it, you will hear it.
Right.
So super important step, pure, clean, and very precise.
That's why everything has to be super clean in here?
Yeah. You can see each stamper is put into the oven to dry, and then it comes to like molding and forming before it goes to pressing. What is important as well that you need to be very gentle with any manipulation.
Right.
Any scratch would be super damaging to the
sonics.
To the sonics, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
These are the nickel pellets, and small nickel particles would be covering the copper plates. And we can see here as well that after an hour, such a plate would grow. And that's basically the music which will be pressed on the records later on.
Okay, incredible. How do they keep on top of which record is which?
Yeah, here is you can see a reference on each of those. And that's super important because that really identifies as a unique code for each side.
Okay.
The copper plate, the master, is put into the bath and it's firmly fixed there. And you can see in a minute, putting it into the bath, fixing, closing, and by closing, the process of creating the opposite layer, the negative layer on top of that growing is starting. And it takes about an hour.
Wow, okay.
And when it goes out of the bath, it's a sandwich, create of two layers. One is the negative and the other one positive.
So is this the way it's always been done? I mean, except for this is mechanized, but this is generally the same process they would have used
yes.
At the very beginning?
Since the beginning, basically since Emil Berliner invented the way how it's pressed, it was a stamper needed.
Wow, 100 years ago nearly. Wow,
up class.
Amazing.
There are new presses that are coming to US.
So who makes these?
Us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so actually it's completely our design, but it's made by a third company for us, but according to our documentation. So this press is fully tested right now. It was connected, running here for maybe 3 months. Once it's debugged, turn it off and move it to US. And when we plug it in, it starts pressing straight away. So that's the way how we started the expansion, and we continue to do so.
Fantastic. And you feel like you've improved on the original devices?
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of like, I would say maybe hundreds of small and medium-sized improvements. We are at a place where the record is pressed. So basically what we take is vinyl compound, such as pellets of 20 different colors. We need to create a material which is equal of one record. We call it puck. The puck, yeah. It's tough. It's very soft and hot when it comes off the press. But then later on, it's associated with two labels. One label for each side, obviously. And it goes into the mold and it's pressed. A lot of pressure and temperature. And all that creates the final record. So each 25 to 30 seconds, you have one record.
It's incredible. So the fact that you've created your own machines, you must have to have a lot of patents.
There are no patents actually.
Really?
There's a lot of, let's say, documentation behind it.
Right.
But all that is based on existing technology.
Right.
You know, so you can't
Okay.
patent something what already exists.
Sure.
This is a different material. Like this would be a milk clear record.
Nice color.
Some purple or
Purple prints. Amazing. Feels nice. It's amazing that it comes from these granules into music. That's miraculous, really. And when you see the process, it is incredibly organic and incredible. It's like, if you think of Spotify, people just press a button and it goes up online. You see all this incredible love and care being put into this organic process is inspiring.
those are the manual presses actually over here. And very special effects, multicolored combinations can be achieved by manual insertion of the material into the press. So it's slower, but it gives you plenty of other options how the final product can look like. So as an example, we got it here, a splattered 25 centimeters, the MP, but with two colors combination.
Thank you.
So we are heading to audio QC room.
Yes.
So the audio quality of the product here is checked. We always check the first record after we start pressing and approximately each 500.
Sure.
So you need to check, let's say, if there are any imperfection, and in particular, you need to be cautious about any serial mistake. So therefore, we don't take one record, but always two in sequence. And if there is a problem on the same spot, then we consider it as a serial error. Usually, the whole batch need to be scrapped.
So they've got a very important job here.
That's very important, yeah, because you see the microscopes, weights, measurements of the warping.
So the microscopes to look at the grooves to see
The grooves,
any kind of anomalies in the grooves. So Michael, are all the factories built the same way with the same processes? Have you got a singularity to it?
There are a lot of similarities. They're using the same technology, same machines, same know-how. We try to use the same material. What we have here at our headquarters, the process is much more complex. We don't have, for example, mastering or galvanics or compound manufacturing in our US or Canadian plants, but the pressing, QC rooms and packaging is the same.
Okay. Actually, do you guys do mastering as well, in the sense of like preparing the record? You have a mastering department?
Yeah, the terminology is super important to say. So we do the mastering, but in the sense of, let's say, preparing the record for vinyl cutting.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but not the whole mastering
the whole process. Just the preparing of it.
Yeah. Just to basically be sure that whatever we get sounds the best on the vinyl.
You'll create the lacquer here.
We would be creating the lacquer here, yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Here is the software I was talking about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we have the turntables. You can see they are playing, each of them is playing the same record. All that sound is recorded to the computer, and the comparison between the master and signal from the record is done online on that computer. The operator is evaluating the differences and the importance of the differences, if it's related to the sterbiff or not.
Is this an area, dare I say, that you could use AI? That could actually, it's a difficult one.
Potentially, we don't. Right now, the operators are AI,
Right.
but probably for the future it could be.
Yeah, it's kind of like you can see minute changes very quickly, but maybe the human ear can't pick up.
Exactly.
You know? So is she mainly doing it by sight, or she's got headphones on?
No. Right now, there's probably a problematic part. She looks at the computer, where exactly is that part, and try to identify it and listen to it.
Like anything, it's learned over time, isn't it? You get better and better at hearing detail. You know, the devil's in the detail. Down, yeah. Very snazzy.
Yeah. So we are coming to printing room. All our offset machines are here, and that's where we press our vinyl sleeves and vinyl jackets, and we might walk through printing press. The whole process starts with a pallet of blank paper, blank sheets, and it goes through the press. Fast process, about 15,000 sheets per hour. through the printing towers.
You know, my father was a printer, and we had a Heidelberg machine in our garage when I was a kid.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's an old company, Heidelberg.
It's a very old company. Yeah. And my grandfather and father both used to work in a printing house. So I spent all my childhood among books and printing, and that's nice.
So it's a lot of moving parts.
There are a lot of moving parts. Yes.
I just think generally in the whole process, this is like this challenge, isn't it? You've got so many, and one part of that process sort of has a problem.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
It needs to work all together. It doesn't. It's not enough just basically do that operation or the other well. It all together needs.
The synergy has to be perfection. Wow.
We are at a stage when, let's say, the sheets are printed, and we have various different artwork printed on a paper. As you can see here, this will become an rigid box for a famous artist.
Who will rename nameless?
Nameless, yeah.
Not. Sorry, Michael, what do I do again?
Just follow her right now. You will take the cake from the plastic tray where she's standing right now.
Okay, sure. In there and then take it out and put it out. Is that it? So here we go. Side A. Oops, okay. Tell me when. Now. Just waiting for the heat. Get it? This time?
Bad.
I'm fired. Why is that? Why was it wrong?
These are test pressing. They need to be super shiny, super nice.
Okay. One last time. Let's try and get one. One more? So
Speed.
speed, faster. Okay, you tell me when. Acceptable?
Super.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. We got one. Yes. I'm not fired.
So how was it?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
My
Are you ready
first,
to come on Saturday?
Yes. 8:30.
8:30.
I'll be here.
It's before Christmas. We don't have enough operators.
Well, I'm glad it's home for me here.
Yes. So right now we can go for the Galvanic for the interview. And
Fantastic. Michael, thanks for having us here at this amazing facility that is gzmedia. I mean, I've been here before and was hugely impressed, but it's been a while since we've had a proper chat. Now, how have you been? Everything good?
yeah, everything good. The vinylrecords are having great time as gzmedia, and we are enjoying the time very much. So perfect.
I remember the first time I came out here to visit you, you very kindly gave me quite a lot of your time. And I've said this to friends recently, so I'm not just blowing smoke here, as we'd say, but I found you to be the most impressive CEO I've ever met of a company. And I've met quite a lot of them over my career, just in the way you manage people's time, the way you manage your own time, the way you were very mindful about the conversation. And when I left this place, I thought, well, we were hoping to do some business with you, but it was like, I'd love to hitch my wagon onto that particular train. Didn't work out that way, but I was massively impressed with this huge operation that you have here, like, what, nearly 3,000 people in total throughout the world?
Yeah, thank you for really nice words. And we did some interesting, successful story, but at the same time, we try to stay modest people who are really very much aware where do they come from a small village close to Prague in the Czech Republic, and respect the values that we have here. So but thank you for the words.
Oh, it's a pleasure, by all means. So, I mean, how did you originally get into the business, into vinyl manufacturing?
Yeah, like I'm here for 20 plus years already with the company, and I started here basically after my university. I did some traveling, but then I wanted to start my real career. And I always knew that when I go to work, I will be like very hardworking, and I want to show myself, my parents, my friends, but all the surrounding that I can do something, that I can achieve. And I was searching, looking for a job. And Zdeněk Pels, the owner of gzmedia, offered me a position in procurement department at the time. And I said, why not? Let's try and start here. I was very impressed by the fact that Czech company is able to export goods to foreign countries, especially to Western Europe at the time. And at the same time, it was at the very beginning when the company started to invest into packaging and printing, and my family has a packaging and printing background.
Right.
So that was my mission number one, to develop the packaging and printing business.
So this was 2003?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So
2003.
2003. So obviously, the resurgence of vinyl hadn't quite happened yet, had it? It was still before the revival that is now vinyl, and the fact that it was like a near kind of extinct format. I mean, it is quite incredible how it's bounced back. I mean,
gzmedia at the time, that was a very, very different company. We did press vinyl records, but if I remember well, we made it about 2 million records per year, and it represented less than 10% of our revenue. We were mostly about CD pressing. That was the core business of the company. And as the digital world started to be a significant threat to CDs and DVDs, so we wanted to diversify the business.
Right.
And the packaging and printing was the story that we expected to write for the future.
Right.
And nobody in the company predicted that vinyl record will be coming so strong and that this will be our new future.
So obviously you went around in '82 when CDs were first released by Philips Sony. So, I mean, did you ever talk to some of the earlier guys about the shock of that and what the boardroom must have been like when you know, have you seen this new product that's come out? So what was the conversations like that you've heard about in the past?
You know, like for us, you know, like gzmedia was a company when CD was introduced. We were a communist country, and all the new technology was coming from the Western world. So when we opened in 1988, first CD pressing plant in the Eastern Bloc, it was a big thing. And that's one of the reasons why so many intelligent, capable people were focused and concentrated in this village, because they had to introduce this very new technology, which was paid by valuable foreign money by government. So there are a lot of stories over here with the starts of the CDs and how very different it was comparing to music cassettes or vinyl records.
So had they held on to the old machines? I mean, was machines that you had here for creating vinyl, were they put into storage or were they scrapped or?
Mostly scrapped. There were few still pressing, few still like doing the stuff that we always did, but most of the machines were deployed and they were replaced by a completely different technology, either for music cassettes, CDs, or some printing and packaging.
So, but in order to be the market leader, which you guys are, the biggest manufacturer of vinyl in the world, you must have had the vision to see what was coming a little bit, to actually get the machines and get that head start on the rest of the market.
I think we saw the opportunity a little bit earlier than most of the other players, but at the same time, we were at the time a healthy, profitable company that was willing to invest, take the entrepreneurial risk, and to invest into that new story. And it would be very easy to just say, okay, we see the opportunity and let's buy more machines and hire more knowledgeable people that can do the product, but none of that existed. Nobody sold new machines at that time. You couldn't hire new, experienced Galvanic guy or someone who knows vinyl mastering, for example. Those people basically didn't exist. So we had to start learning and searching from the beginning. One thing that we did, and it was very different to all the others, we opened relatively large and big projects for R&D. So we started to reinvent new machines, presses, galvanic baths, DMM lathes, like all that would really help us to be at the position that we are in. And when we had all the hardware, all the machines, still without people, it would be nothing. So the most difficult part was to bring new generation, to attract them to the old-fashioned business,
right,
and teach them how to do their job properly, because it's manufacturing, in very precise manufacturing in the end.
Yeah, it's a skillful job. You know, you have to have, like anything, really well-trained people. At that point, I suppose there's not so much automation in the early days. It's quite an organic process.
Very manual process happening in a relatively dirty environment at the same time. So right now the company is very different, but at the time it was pretty dusty with a lot of oil leaking everywhere. So changing that environment, that was as a part of the story, because you have brilliant people, you don't want to bring them into a cellar.
So basically that period be like when CD came along to sort of when vinyl was finally a huge business. So you guys focused on packaging and on CDs, basically. You diversified the business straight into that. Was that a quick process or did that evolve?
Decades, basically. So if 88 was the first year where we pressed the CD at the time, and until that, only vinyl records and music cassettes were produced at gzmedia. And right now, if I see the company in 2003 when I joined it, it was all about CDs and very little vinyl. And then you see the company a decade later, 2012, 13, it was still mostly about CDs, a lot of print and packaging, but completely different industries like electronics, spirits, cosmetics. And the vinyl started to grow, starting to gain the position again. And right now you see us a decade later, and it's a very different picture again. 80%, 80+% of the group around gzmedia are producing vinyl records. The revenues are generated by vinyl records, and only 20% remaining to packaging, and CDs disappeared. We closed down CD manufacturing 2 years ago.
So I was thinking about this today before we were doing the interview. Okay, so for a lot of people, music lovers, they saw streaming as a massive threat in a way. But at the same time, I was thinking, in some ways, streaming has helped the growth of vinyl. Because at the end of the day, people listening to music, but also the fact that there was the yearning for something physical again. They appreciated the physicalness of a record, you know, whereas basically, let's say streaming is consumption, it's not ownership. Because really you're on Spotify, they take you off Spotify, you lose all your playlists, you lose everything. So you're kind of renting it, you know, for all intents and purposes. So then you got a physical record and that's yours. And it's also, it's much more respectful to the format. I think it's that physicality that's helped. Do you think that's fair to say?
I completely agree with you. It's not one or the other, and it's not for everybody. Like most people will still continue to listen to the music via streaming or going to the concerts, but there's a strong group of people, the music lovers, the people who like to own something, to get like associated with something, who would be missing very much something in their life if the only dimension how they can enjoy the music is via streaming. You know it much better than me, but taking the record into your hands, going through the booklet, reading lyrics, putting the product into your wardrobe in the living room or sleeping room or wherever, putting it on a turntable. That's an experience. And we are about experience, and you want to decorate your room with something beautiful, and this is a beautiful product.
Yeah, and it's kind of loyalty to the artists as well, in the sense that you bought something physical from them. I mean,
one thing, and you said it as well, experience the masterpiece from the beginning till the end.
Yeah.
You can't just easily click and skip the track and you listen to the whole album from the beginning till the end.
I mean, the other phenomena as well is the fact that, you know, digging into the numbers, like 50% of people who collect vinyl don't even have a record player. I mean, that's just crazy, but I kind of understand it. I mean, I think we all have to be honest with ourselves. I mean, I'm a big collector, and you know, if we have time, I'll tell you my sad vinyl story. I've got a very sad vinyl story. I'll tell you a little later. But it's like the whole thing of, you know, you own the vinyl, but how often do you actually play it? I mean, I collect vinyl, but really being, full disclosure, and I'm a music producer, I mainly stream music in my house. I've got Sonos speakers everywhere, we were talking about earlier. I like just calling out for a track, it plays it. Okay, the quality, isn't the same as vinyl, but it's good enough. And I play music low in my house. And I think a lot of people, if they're really being honest, that's how they're consuming it. Of course, some nights I'll stay in and I'll put some vinyl on, I'll have a glass of wine, and it's amazing. But the majority of my listening is streaming. But I still, absolutely adore and kind of cherish my vinyl collection. So it's a kind of a strange phenomena of what we're doing here, really.
Yeah, like we are all different, and that's great about it. I do not listen to vinyl records too much either, but I have my vinyl collection in my home. And I can't imagine my living room, and where on the central spot is the Joshua Tree vinyl album and the book open next to that. It's part of my life. I want it to be there. So we love to think, to own things, to get touched by things. And vinyl records is so beautiful to that.
Yeah, one of the great moments, final moments of my life was when I was about 15, and I was working with this guy. I was an apprentice electrician, and I was in a band at the time, so very cocky and thought I was the bee's knees. But I remember this electrician. His name was Morris Hyland. So Morris, if you're listening, this is for you. But he picked me as his apprentice for the day. And I was, I grew up an eldest kid, a bit of a strange boy. I didn't really mix with a lot of other kids. Sort of just wasn't my way of doing things. But I loved Irish music, Irish traditional music a lot, and I listened to a lot of that. But this guy picked me as his apprentice for the day, and he we were in his car, and he said, "Do you want to go back to my house? We'll have some breakfast before we go to the job." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds good." So we go back to his house, his wife lets us in, and he says, "Oh, just go into the room in there. I'll be in a sec with some tea." And I walked into this room, and from the floor to the ceiling was vinyl all around them. And I was like, oh my God, it was like amazing. And for like about the next 6 months while I was working from every morning, we used to spend 2 hours listening to music. We're supposed to be wiring houses, but he liked the fact that I liked music as well. We were like listening, eating toasted cheese sandwiches, drinking tea, listening to vinyl. It was a massive influence on my life in the sense of me as a producer now, he had everything from classical music to punk, to rock, to reggae, everything. He was an amazing influence. And it was like, I finally got in touch with him recently on Facebook, and we kind of reconnected. I was like, thank you for introducing me to all this great music. It's kind of had a big impact on me. You think of it later and you go, that was kind of an important part of my life, And then I became a collector of vinyl and moved to London, left all my vinyl records up in the loft, and that story to be continued, I'll tell you later. But I think, again, I think the phenomena of the fact that, as I said, so few people play it, at home I find that fascinating. I can't really get my head around it completely. I can and I can't. But, I mean, is this what's been fed back to you guys? I mean, because I know here the quality is huge. You put so much work into the actual quality of the material. Some people say, why are we working so hard?
At certain level, you want that your product is used and enjoyed as much as possible.
Right.
At the same time, if people are collectors and they enjoy the possession of the product and they are satisfied with the way how they use it or store it, I'm completely fine with that. We do it for people. We don't want to change their habits.
Right.
That's their free decision how to use it. And if they love, have that product home and maybe just read the lyrics or the tracks, why not?
I think that going back to what you said earlier on, though, that's why in your job you have to kind of also employ creative people in the sense of like people who care about the product, because the process is it still as organic, or has that changed over the last few years?
It's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. Like if I was referring to 2003, where we pressed 2 million records. Mm-hmm. Right now, in a good month, we will press 5 million records per month. So it can be organic. It must be very systematic. And my primary task is to assure that each of these 5 million records is perfectly packed, sounds perfect, and it's without damage delivered to our customer on time. So it must be very systematic.
And so, but, you know, is it hard to find people, like staff that really have those skills that manage the machines, or is it easier now because of the technology?
It's hard to find the people, but what is very hard and kind of mission impossible to find really passionate people who are willing to, let's say, give that extra piece to their work. You know, the emotions, the ambition to exceed or excellate. That's something what we try, and this is actually my biggest role.
Right.
To concentrate that talent and creativity here in the company.
So you've expanded into the US now. So you've got 2 factories there now, isn't it?
Actually, we have three factories in the US and 1 in Canada.
Oh, amazing.
So 4 companies. 3 of them are pressing vinyl records, and 1 is doing vinyl compound. Because historically, any vinyl compound to the US was imported either from Europe or Asia. So from sustainability point of view, economical point of view, it doesn't make any sense. So we invested into a small company that manufactures US-made vinyl compound over there.
So, but also it saves shipping. If you're manufacturing records in the US, which is one of the biggest markets, it saves you having to ship them and put them on ships and send them over. So there's all of that.
You want to be close to your customer. You want to speak in their time zone, in their language. You want to, let's say, be very fast. If there's a really great selling album and there's a need for reorder, obviously you can manufacture it in Europe, but then you would be flying it to US. From many reasons, that doesn't make any sense. You want to be there.
So how come the Americans didn't pick up on this first? You just got in there at the right time.
I don't know, luck, chance, aggressivity.
You know, Americans, they're usually on this kind of stuff, but you beat them to the punch.
Like, we were really very aggressive, and we trusted to the market. US was always our super important market. So from the beginning, from early times, we have great customers over there who learned us how to understand the market. So we were basically very much prepared to the expansion.
So the other thing I remember us talking about in a previous conversation is the lacquer situations. The lacquer is basically, for the listeners out there, what you get first to make the stampers, et cetera, et cetera. Is there still that issue with lacquers in the world?
Yeah, like you're probably like referring to the largest supplier of lacquers, Apple, burned out a couple of years ago, and that created a huge tension in the industry. We don't see that problem anymore. Right. There's 1 supplier in Japan. That supplier is capable of producing enough volume. What I'm not sure that always the quality of the lacquers is at the level that we want to see them. Mm-hmm. That's something what I have a little bit doubt. But I would say the lacquer problem, the lacquer issue that this will ruin or impact the vinyl record pressing market, that didn't materialize.
So there's only 1 company, though. I mean, talk about having a monopoly.
It's a monopoly, but as well, if you see, let's say, the mastering world, you have the lacquer cutting and DMM cutting to metal plates.
Yeah.
So the metal plates is like an alternative. So you are not completely as the industry dependent on
Right.
1 lacquer supplier.
Okay. Because they're expensive as well, because obviously I worked at Abbey Road for a long time. I know the mastering guys, and the lacquers are expensive.
Pretty expensive.
If you get it wrong a couple of times, it starts adding up, Lucy's
It's very easy to get 1 damage.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to get it right. I mean, Lucy at Abbey Road, is always saying, they cost a fortune. She sees 2 or 3 of them in the bin, But
therefore, they are so super angry when we put it into galvanic bath and burn it. And that happens time to time, unfortunately.
Really? And you have to get another one?
Yeah.
But, so back to that, the lacquers. I was trying to think of my next point on that, but maybe we'll move on from that. Was there something else about the lacquers? Yeah, it's a secret recipe, isn't it? The lacquer, they have some sort of patented secret recipe for the lacquer?
I'm not certain about that. Like, the production process is not easy. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how much patent it is, but at the same time to introduce a new company who will be doing the lacquers in the old-fashioned way is not easy because of ecological point of view. The production is not really sustainable, let's say that way.
So obviously you're doing you're making your own compounds. Did you never think of maybe doing your own lacquers?
Not really. Like when we get lacquers, we mostly get the lacquers cut already. So company studios like Sterling or Abbey Road would cut their lacquer and send it to us, and we would do galvanic. And if some, especially smaller customers, ask us to do the cutting as well, so we prefer to go with the easier way and cut to the metal. So that's the part that we developed a lot.
Okay, so as you said earlier, you have the option if there was that factory burned down, you still have the metal option.
Yes, that's still, let's say, a very strong leg, and the process of cutting copper plate is more straightforward and cheaper for a customer as well in the end. So some customers, especially the one with lower budget, do prefer to go with that path.
Because they are expensive vinyls. I mean, they're like UK 25, 30 pounds, 25 is the cheaper end, up to 35 pounds. I mean, the process is expensive from start to finish. So, okay, looking at the growth of the company, of the vinyl market, should I say, like, okay, it's going fantastic at the moment, but it's still a long way to go from the 70s when you were doing 300 million a year. So do you see that growth continuing or leveling off, or how do you future kind of forecast that? It's very difficult.
I do get that question pretty frequently. Obviously, we have a lot of discussion internally about that because we have to base our investment decisions about forecasting the future. And openly, I don't know the right answer for your question. We think that the market is so strong right now that it will not collapse. But if it grows 10% a year for following decade, or if it stay plateau or start to decline,
it's impossible to say.
It's impossible.
There's a lot of independent manufacturers coming on the scene now, hasn't it? There's been a large growth in that small little boutique ones.
Like 200 plus plants, I would say, producing globally right now.
Wow. But you mainly, would you say your main clients are the big boys, like the Universals of the world, or is it just...
They are super important to us. We would not get the volumes without them. And as you see, let's say, their share on the physical music market, it's impossible to be the larger player without being with them, and we love them. But at the same time, we have a really great memory and loyalty to the independent market. Thanks to the alternative genres, the punk and the heavy metal guys, we survived. Those who were always loyal to us in the 90s and early 2000s. So we want to serve them, and we want them to know that they have always space in our world.
Because rock is still the biggest seller of physical product, isn't it, against, say, hip-hop. Hip-hop is, I was looking at some figures with hip-hop, it's not as large, like more people stream on hip-hop than buy physical product. It's difficult to
classify because, well, for many years, Taylor Swift is the biggest selling artist on vinyl. So
that's pop, though.
That's pop.
You call that pop. I mean, it's not Jay-Z, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's interesting genres and the kind of different kinds of people.
I think what we can say for sure that right now vinyl records are attractive to more genres.
Right.
So they are opening to other genres you would not find them a couple of years ago.
So in a way, it's kind of becoming as well like buying a T-shirt in a way, as that loyalty to the band. And also, as you said, reading the liner notes. But I've even got records at home I haven't even opened. You know, I mean, I shouldn't say this because I'm a producer and I should be, but I do love having them. You know, I'm like everyone, I'm a collector, and it is kind of a badge of honor in a way. When people come to my house, they see my record. Okay, I'm a real music lover. I'm not just streaming. See, like there they are. You know, I'm really buying them.
Sometimes I feel embarrassed when they see that they are still cellophane.
Exactly. You haven't even played this one. Oh, you know, I just keep that as a backup because I've even sort of started replacing some of my old records. You know, that was the other thing, because that's heritage side of things. Because my sad vinyl story I was just going to tell you at the start was. When I was a kid, obviously, I collected a lot of vinyl, and I put them up in the loft. I'm quite OCD, so every album was perfect in the wrapping, A to Z, in crates, up in the loft. So I'm get a job in London in music, so I move and I leave all my records up there. Someday I'll come back and get them. So you roll on 20 years, and sadly my mum and dad passed, and I'm going home to look after selling the house and blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to my sister, and we're obviously very sad about what's happening. And I said, oh, I must get a van, and get all my vinyl out of the loft and take it back to London. She says, what vinyl? I said, you've got to be kidding me. What? Don't even joke. She said, Mum and Dad sold your whole collection 7 years previous. I had about 3,000 albums. Early Stones, Beatles, everything. It was like, they sold my albums. And the funny Irish dark humor here is that I'm going to the funeral next day for my dear mum, who I love dearly, but sort of I'm at the funeral parlor, and my mum's in an open casket, and everybody's there, and the family are there, and my uncles were beside me. I'm standing in front of my mum, and I could hear my uncle say, oh, Robert, he looks very, very upset. And, but in my head, I'm looking at my mum going, you sold my records, Mum? How could you do it? How could you sell my records? It's like, it's kind of very Irish humor. But, it was like, and Miro, who we both know, Miro Zabirka, who's a big star, obviously, in this country, and who I love dearly, who sadly passed a couple of years back. I told him this story years ago. And it used to make him laugh and sad at the same time. And ever since that time I told him that story, every time I met Miro, he brought me a new vinyl.
Yeah.
Every time.
I think he's one of the few people who always trusted or loved the format.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He never betrayed the format.
No, but loads of, especially, they get quite passionate about it. I was working with the McCartney guys recently, and they're really anti MP3s and sort of streaming in the sense of that, it's okay, but it's not even close to the original experience of listening to, and even the sonics of it. Which again, though, I think yes and no, because as we all know, the organic process of making a vinyl, if you don't get every stage of it right, it affects the sound. I listened to a Bob Marley record a while back on vinyl, and it was terrible. There was no bass because they hadn't cut it deep enough, and there was no bass in the rest. Bob Marley with very little bass. So it is a little bit of chance. So you're obviously at the mercy of the cut as well from the other end, aren't you? So you can only do what you can do.
Like the whole vinyl manufacturing process is kind of like a mission impossible race to minimize the imperfections. Like if you get a master, you can't do any better. You can do you have a level, you have a bar, and everything what you do, you need to bear in mind that you can bring there something which should not be there. Like noise, click, pops, or some other imperfections. And all that you try to avoid, but still, it's there. It's partly what we love on the record. But we, as a manufacturer, we hate it.
Right.
We want it as pure, as clean as possible.
Yeah, because there is software now. I don't know if you encourage your lacquer producers to kind of invest in it where, it can work with the machine to make sure that they're maximizing the cut, that's going to work for the manufacturing process. Do you recommend that to your clients? Maybe, is there any particular software that you really recommend in that respect?
We use a home-developed software over here, and it has a lot of advantages. But the one that I love the most is that when we get an approval from a customer for test pressings, or we do the mastering and cutting ourselves, we do record the signal from the test pressing or at the cutting. And then we keep it and store it at our server. And anytime we take a record from the press and we bring it to our audio inspection, we put it on a turntable, we stopped, let's say, listening to the record from the beginning till the end, like audible only, but we do record it to the server, compare the signals together, and we see all the imperfections that we created to the record. So we can do much more quality control, but as well on the data, we can evaluate how we are getting better in time, what are the problems of our process. So basically from a very subjective control, we brought something which is objectivizing the quality parameter of the records. And that's something what our software can do, and it helps us so much to improve the whole process.
Yeah, because I remember when I first met you, when we were coming with this organic compound, trying to make it work on your machines, and you very kindly gave us a lot of time, much more than anyone else would have tolerated. Right? We didn't quite achieve our aim, and the aim was, we could actually physically get it through the machine, our compound, our organic compound, but the sound quality just was too much surface noise.
Always surface noise was too much.
Yeah, it was too much, and you guys were very, very particular about, and rightly so. And they gave us a hard time, rightly so. But it was like in the end, they're still working on it. The company, I'm not part of the company anymore, but they're trying to get rid of it. But it's a challenge. They still, as far as I know, maybe they've succeeded since then. But when I was with them, I just felt we weren't reaching the levels that we needed to reach. And obviously the price point as well, because it was very expensive. We were trying, and
the price is one thing, but especially in the product, where you ask a customer to pay 25 plus pound, you expect superior quality. So I think we, as a whole industry, should protect, let's say, that value, and by going more sustainable, ecological, or anything, we should not do it in, let's say, compromising quality in general. So that's the biggest problem. If something is really expensive, at the beginning things are expensive, but then people love it. You do a mass production, you do this, you get all the scale effects. Then suddenly the price starts to decrease. But you need to start with the decent quality at the beginning.
Yeah, of course. And as I said, have you guys been working on that side of are you constantly trying to find alternatives?
Yeah. We are doing a lot about, let's say, a lot of activities, how to, that piece of plastic, make more ecological and less burden for the environment. It's a piece of plastic. Fortunately, the piece of plastic in most cases is not disposed. You keep it. So all the carbon emissions are locked inside, and you keep it home.
Yeah, but it doesn't end up in landfill.
But still, say if you have a scrap record, 100% of our scrap record are going into a new record.
Okay.
So we are recycling. We try to do stuff like bringing the compound which is based on non-oil-based materials, which is possible right now. We try to reduce our energy consumption. So all those activities are super important. Not bringing the records from Europe to US is a huge thing.
But building a factory in the US.
Yeah, that's
perfect solution for that.
But still, let's say, plenty of tasks ahead of us.
Because they last 100 years. And that's, well, in my research, it was like a vinyl record will last 100 years, like a CD lasts 30 years. I think a cassette is 10 years.
I would say if you store it well, it can last much longer.
Yeah, well, would it?
Like the problem is heat. If you expose the product to heat, that's a really negative impact. But if you store it well, I never tested it, but I would say that this would last much longer than 100 years.
Yeah. So that's, well, you can't get much more sustainable than that. And as you said, people don't throw them away. So it generally doesn't land, because obviously the process of making, in the past at least anyway, was quite a toxic process in actually making a record. So
that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
All the materials inside are like much more environment friendly than before, any time before.
So as far as the innovation is concerned about making them, I mean, you guys are developing a lot of your own processes. Machines, and so are you tweaking older machines or building new machines?
Building a really completely new machines with all the nice modern features on top of them.
And is that a big sort of part of the way of looking forward? Do you think you'll replace all your machines over time?
We almost did.
Really?
Yeah. Like we today we produced close to 200 record presses.
That's amazing. And in America, obviously, when you were starting from fresh, so they were all new machines put in there?
They're we have only new machines over there.
So is this your own design, or is it because I remember from the Phoenix Alphas?
Yeah, we got inspired from Truex Alpha, the 8012, but we modified that press a lot. The first prototype was kind of the best possible copy that we could make, but as we learned and as we tried to improve, we changed the profile of the machine quite significantly.
And has AI got any sort of place in your world, do you think, moving forward?
I think definitely. Right now, it's meaningful in some of our operations. We chatted a little bit before about that. But for example, the biggest project that we run on AI up to date is that when we start printing, we have to print this central label area as well, and you have always two of them on a record. But you print it on a really large sheet when you have 24 or 36 pairs of the labels. And you try to combine the different titles on the sheet to minimize the waste and maximize the efficiencies. And in the past, we said it's very difficult to program it because you need to follow a lot of logic. What kind of inks is there? What kind of material, etc., etc. So you need to balance all of that. So the best possible result we could get with our own experienced operator. But suddenly, when we allowed AI to follow that person and to learn from this person's habits and algorithms, we realized that after a time, that program, which is made using AI, is significantly more efficient and fast.
Okay.
So that's probably the biggest application of our AI initiative in the company.
So what's the future for vinyl? I know you get probably asked that all the time, but it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. Is it just never-ending growth, do you think?
Like our owner, Zdeněk Pes, I referred to him already once. He says that only an economist or a silly person can think that something continues forever. So our growth continues forever. And the same will be with vinyl records. There will be a situation when you saturate the market and it probably start losing some of the attractivity. When it will happen and what is the peak? That's as with any human activity. You have a crystal ball, you can predict. We need to stay rational and we need to make a right decision to stay healthy and to build a company that will survive even after vinyl ages. And if there will be any, we don't know.
Do you ever think you guys might invest in the music industry per se, like maybe start a label?
We don't want to compete to our customers. No. We want to be the best partner for all music labels and music fans. So we can diversify our business. We can do more logistics. We can do some distribution. We can do merchandising, etc. We can do direct shipping to customers when our customers would love it. Mm-hmm. But that's it.
So who is your biggest artist that you cut, would you say?
That we produce or cut?
I just manufacture albums.
Manufacture albums. Yeah, like from number of records that we pressed in the last years, that was the Taylor Swift albums.
Wow.
But
and was that hugely bigger than anything else?
Huge or bigger than anything else, yes.
Yeah, I think I saw some numbers like 2 or 3 times.
Otherwise, value-wise, we did so beautiful, like bespoke, collectible boxes for Beatles, Rolling Stones. In value, it might exceed, let's say, the single albums that we do, but it's very variable.
And what do you do to relax? I mean, you're one of the busiest people I've ever met. Just like, so do you ever stop? I mean, like I know you're working right up to Christmas. It's like this is your mad time and all the rest of it. Every time you're just incredibly busy. You've got to obviously really love this job because you're always on the move, always creating. And I think you're a very creative CEO. You're always brainstorming, trying to come up with new ideas, listening. So, but you must have to switch off at some point. What do you do to relax?
I love my company or this company. I love the people in, but at the same time, as everybody, we need to have a time when you disconnect and do something else. And in those times, I have my family, I have my kids, beautiful thing, and I don't want them to grow up without me. So and the balance is very, very fragile. So that's one thing. And the other thing, I love sport and running especially. So whenever I'm really too busy, too tired, too worried about something, I put my running shoes on and
yeah, I've just the last year I've just found the joy of swimming. I swim every day now, and if I don't do it now, yesterday I even went to a pool. I had to find a pool to swim. I miss it so badly if I don't do it.
It would be so similar. You are with yourself only.
Yeah.
You can think about stuff and you can mentally relax. So
what do they call it? Monkey mind. I have to calm my brain down for a second to just sort of get a little bit more zen. Well, listen, it's been amazing. Thanks so much for the interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.